Hey y'all, welcome to the Suburban Stitcher podcast. My name is Diane and this is episode 102, almost positive, and today is September 27th, 2016. It's a Tuesday. I just finished, so exciting, and took me forever, just finished going through all of the Around Your Neck prizes and winners, and I'm going to be taping a separate episode I'll probably push these out at the same time, but if you didn't participate in Around Your Neck Cal and you don't care about prizes or anything, then that's fine, but then you don't have to watch. But if you did participate and you do want to see if you are a winner, then you will want to watch that episode. So that's kind of the housekeeping at the front end of the show. The other piece of housekeeping is that not this coming weekend, but the next weekend, which is October 8th, it's the Saturday, I will be at the Sated Sheep in Dripping Springs, Texas for a trunk show. I'm super excited. I am I'm just really excited about the show and about meeting all of you who decide to come. It's part of the Hill Country Yarn Crawl, and I'm really I love shows. I love meeting knitters, and a new yarn store for me, so it's all just really exciting. So, let's see. Let's get right into the knitting, shall we? I don't have any finished objects. I do have a sock that is almost finished, that is about to be done. I showed last week that I had finished this one little footy, and I got the second one done all the way up to where I'm going to do the ribbing. So this one is just sitting until, Saturday is October 1st. Saturday is going to be finishing all the socks. I'm so excited. I'm ready to have just a ton of finishes. Even more so am I ready to get all of these project pages finished and out of the WIP category on Ravelry, because I'm ready. So that yarn, this yarn is Kirby Werby. It's on a sparkle base, and it's a hand painted, not a striping, and it's called Drunk on a Plane. That's the colorway. And I'm knitting these on Carbon's, Knitter's Pride Carbon's 2.25 millimeter. Feeling a little discombobulated today, but just go with it. So that is the first project. Let's stick that back in the these need to be finished pile. Okay, so the next pair of socks that I worked on, and this is in a Girl Cave bags that I got at Zombie Knit Apocalypse. I just love it. Little sleeping bags inside. Super cute. So here is the story about this one. Let's talk about the yarn first. The yarn is Spun Right Round. Probably my favorite. Oh, it's just one of my favorites. This colorway is called Clairvoyant. It's just absolutely perfect. It's a 80-20 sock blend, 80% merino, superwash merino, 20% nylon. I finished the first sock. It's too short, so at some point there will be some surgery that happens. I'll stick some needles back in here, rip back to the needles, and then knit probably another half of an inch, like 6 or 7 rows at least. I mean, it's considerably short, which is a bummer. I put it on and my little toes felt squished, and these socks are for me. I'm not giving them away because they are my jam. So you can see, yeah, you can totally see on this. So see how the heel is like way here? I mean, it needs, yeah, it needs a good 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch to have this centered on there, which is a little bit more how they will actually fit me. So the yarn itself is gorgeous. The sock is beautiful. Absolutely love it. It's just too small. So that gets to be fixed. But as with anything, you know, when you kind of get bummed out about it a little bit, it gets to go in timeout. So it's in timeout for a little while, but not long because October is coming. Socktober is coming. So I worked on that. I worked on, let's see, balance this. I worked on my mustache yarn socks. I finished the first one. Woo. So this yarn is mustache yarn in the Daily Eggs colorway. Stacy gifted this to me at Dallas Fort Worth Fiber Festival this year for my birthday, and I just love it. It's very Diane colorway. I love the thick and thin stripes. I love the speckles versus the solids. I just love it, love it. I used a contrast heel and toe on this one. If you remember before, and you'll see in just a minute, I knit basically a tube kind of up to here, about there. And then I went back in and cut in this heel. And then I was knitting these on DPNs. I switched over to circular needles because they are just faster for me. So, and I just really wanted to get these done. They've been on the needles since March 31st. So I switched over to circulars, and within a day I had this finished. So that is the first one. This contrast yarn is, I will show you, it is some good old Deborah Norville. The yarn blend, this is from Joann's or Hobby Lobby or something. I don't remember which, but it's 230 yards, 50 grams, 50% superwash merino, 25% rayon made from bamboo, and 25% nylon. So it's going to be sturdy. They're going to be cool. It was very nice to knit with. In real life, this gray is about a shade darker than the grays in the in-between stripe portions. So it's not as black as it looks in real life. I mean, it's definitely darker, but it doesn't have quite the stark contrast as it does in real life. Anyway, so that's the first one. And the second one, I just cut in sorts of strings happening, strings and needles everywhere on this one. I cut in for the heel. So you can see I just cut in for the heel, and I've got all my ends in there tucked in, and I think I've just done like a 1/2 of a round with the gray for the heel. And this is where I did it. So I did about two sections. I'm just barely starting the green there. And I think also once I get this heel done, I'm going to switch it over to this circular needle just to get it, zoom in and get it off the needles. I love knitting on signature needles. That is much more of a process knitting for me. But when I'm wanting to production zoom knit, it's got to be on Magic Loop circulars. It's just the way that is so much quicker for me. And y'all know I love some signatures, but they're just not yet the quickest for me for socks. So, but does not depreciate my love for them. It's just a matter of preference for what kind of mood I'm in, and these are a get her done kind of mood right now. Okay, so that is, I think that's it for things that you have seen. I just, with all of this productivity, oh, well, let me talk about this other one first. Okay, so my friend Christina, who is another horned frog on Ravelry and Instagram and every place, I think, she gifted me this yarn last year. It is Lilliput yarn in the Houston Texans colorway. And we decided that we were going to knit on it during the Texans games this year. Well, so the first week I knit very little because I was outside at a baseball game and it was 40 billion degrees and I just couldn't even breathe, hardly, let alone knit. It was too sticky and gross. So I don't even think I didn't even finish well, there's where I did. So I finished like that much. And then the next week, the second game of the season, I knit basically everything you see here, which I love the striping sequence. I just think it's so cool. Then last week, Thursday night, I guess, was the game. And this right here is about, maybe I hadn't started the red stripe. That game was so bad. They played the Patriots. I don't even know that, I don't know if it was an out-of-body experience, like maybe aliens took over their bodies and there were aliens playing football inside the Texans instead of the Texans. Like, that's the only explanation that I have for the atrociousness of the game. So I couldn't even knit. Like, it was just so depressing. I couldn't even watch. I couldn't even knit. And then I figured, well, if I'm not watching the game, then I can't knit on the socks. So taking this literally, like game time. It's really the only time that I can do it. So, so that's that. But they're just, I would love to, in theory, get them done by the end of October. But that means that I've really got to get going on them pretty quickly here. So they may not happen for the end of October, which is fine because they're not really, like, that's not the goal. Okay, so then the next thing, I've been doing all this finishing of sock whips and just doing so good and being really super productive. And oh, there was another project that I worked on, but just a few rows. It's not worth digging back out. Stop the video. I just had to cast on something new. I've been saying all along that my reward for finishing up some of these older sock projects is that all October I get to knit all Halloween socks all the time. So excited about. So I just decided I've been doing really good. I mean, I have 4, almost 5 sock whips that are sitting, waiting to be finished with either just a heel, toe, or a cuff. And that's all they're lacking. So I just moved this, and it's on the wrong side. Sorry. You know, when you're doing one thing, your brain can't quite. Okay, so I just had to cast on something new. I just needed to. I've bought this yarn earlier in the year to be able to knit it for Halloween this year. I've just been eyeing it, and so I had to cast it on. So it is Opal. It's the Wonderland. Wonderland is the kind of series. It's a 6-ply, so it's like a DK weight. And it's a 75% wool, 25% polyamide, which is nylon or plastic, synthetic, something, stretchy, synthetic of some sort. And I cast it on last night, and here it is. So it looks kind of small. It really looks kind of small. Yeah, it's probably, I probably should have cast on 4 more stitches. I was trying to just see how little I could cast on. Because it's a DK weight, I thought, I do 56 stitches for sport weight, so I thought for DK I could probably do 48. Doesn't seem to be enough. But, I don't know, it may stretch. But it's been fun knitting it, and I love what it's doing so far. So this one is here's what it looks like in the skein. And it's just a huge, squishy, puffy, let's see if I can try this on. And it fits. It feels like right there, like that's plenty of room, because that's, not that dissimilar from my foot. I know that it will soften up. Well, deep pins are really hard for me to try on. It's another thing about Magic Loop. Okay, so it really can't get the deep pins like over my arch, but it fits, right? Oh, maybe with a good block it'll be just fine. So anyway, here we go. I'm really loving it. It's just opal, lovely yarn. I'm knitting this on size 2 signature DPNs, and sorry, my phone's kind of going crazy. Size 2 signature DPNs. I love the patterning. I cast on 48 stitches, and it seems to be okay, I guess, so far. This is a Sucra Miniatures Halloween cupcake from last year. So super duper love that. I may or may not have an obscene amount of them coming in the mail very soon. Yes, because y'all know I collect all the cupcakes. Because I can't really eat real ones, so might as well have them on my knitting. So that got started this week. And I think that's all the sock whips for sure that I've been working on. Speaking of socks, as we've been unpacking our house, from the hashtag not moving anymore, I found my box of socks. And I already went through this, but this is just one of those round paper things from somewhere. Hobby Lobby, Michael's, I don't remember. But, okay, so in here right now, I've added to it since it was packed away. But in here right now are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs of socks. And I have finished way more than that this year, but they have to be started this year too. So I had to take out like 4 pairs that I started last year. So I took those out. I also have 2 pairs that I started and finished this year that have been gifted. So those can't go in here. So I have no doubt that I'll be able to get to my 12 by the end of the year. But yeah, so that was that. I think I will be fine, because I'm thinking I have at least two of the pairs that are in three of the pairs that are in hibernation for starting on Saturday will count. So that will be 9. So yeah, I'll be totally fine. So that is socks. All the socks. I did a little knitting on there's just projects everywhere. When it takes a couple of weeks for you to podcast, and when you are an ADD knitter like me, then there's lots of things. I worked a little bit on my shawl. This has now been released. This is Kisses by the Sea. Oh gosh. The worst ever. I only printed this one page. Kisses by the Sea, I'm almost positive. This was a test knit that I was doing for Joji Locatelli, and I'm a test knit fail again. Thankfully, I don't think she really counts on me too much. So last time I had to rip back a ton, like almost this whole thing. So I re-knit this, my little Kiss Rose. I'm calling them the Kiss Rose because it looks like little like cross stitch X's almost, like little. I don't know why. That's probably not even why it's called Kisses by the Sea, but that's why it is to me. So I re-knit all that. It looks fine, and I started the next, what will be a mesh section right there. So I love it. The colors I love. They are not necessarily what you would maybe think of as going together, but I really love the effect of them together. So I worked on that. I worked a little bit, very little, on, I pulled out this old shawl, again, unpacking all of the things and rediscovering. Well, I did work on it enough to finish a skein of yarn. This I started last summer for Camp Loopy and never finished it. Let's see what it's called. Surge? No. Clinquant. Lisa Much. It's a DK weight, big, huge shawl that is shaped like that. So kind of weird, like a half of a sun with different shaped points. And I am using Fiber Story Core DK in the Vague colorway. And here it is. So I finished, it's supposed to use 3 skeins of yarn, and I finished the first one, and I'm on to the second one. So I'm still working on this big kind of garter stitch sun section. And then soonly I will be at the drop stitch. That's the back that I'm showing you. Not that it matters, it's all garter stitch, but then I will be starting there's some drop stitches, and then I will be starting the little points, the wedges. So this yarn is super soft, 100% superwash merino. It's super soft and squishy. I think this is being knit on size 10s, so it's very airy and lots of squishiness. It's just going to be awesome when it's all said and done. So that I did some work on. Are you sensing a theme? Like a different project every day. Or maybe 3 different projects in one day sometimes. So that is Clinquant. And the last knitting project that I worked on. I started a new shawl. Let me show you. So it is called the Parker Street, and it's by Soft Sweater Designs on Ravelry, who is Sylvia Bobilvia, almost positive. Pretty sure it's Sylvia Bobilvia, which I think is like the greatest name ever. Yeah, I'm almost positive, but anyway. So I am knitting it out of, yes, okay, at least I'm not in the middle of a row. I am knitting this out of, I'll show you a skein that is not caked up yet. Some yarn that I got several years ago. This is Madeline Tosh Tart in the 80-10-10 worsted. Now, this shawl calls for Aran weight, but this yarn really is a hefty worsted. so I figured it would be a good substitute. I started knitting a sweater out of this out of this yarn, and then frogged it because the sweater was not going to look good on me. Just wasn't my style. It was a test knit that I thought, oh, okay, that's cute. And then the more and more I got going, I didn't finish the test knit. Running theme in my life. Didn't finish the test knit, and then I thought, well, that's okay, I'll finish the sweater. And then the sweater just really, it was not going to be cute. So the yarn sat and sat and sat and sat. And the more and more the yarn sat, I'm picking dog hair off of it. The more and more the yarn sat, I realized the color's beautiful, but I'm not going to wear that color in a sweater. It's just not a Diane sweater knitting color, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know. I just didn't see myself really, like, I would knit it and it would be beautiful, and other people would be like, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And I would probably never wear it because it just isn't a Diane color. So I decided it needs to be used. I'm going to knit it to make this shawl. Because I fell in love with this shawl the minute I saw it. And then, of course, like 3 days later, I haven't, it's been a week and a half and I haven't touched it, which is pretty typical for me. But I made huge progress on it. I'm alternating skeins. So here you can see it's going to be enormous. And I'm actually even enlarging it because I want this to be like the biggest shawl blanket ever. So you start here, obviously at the top. It's really hard to see. Well, I don't know that you're going to see the lace, but you can just see that it's a big lace pattern. And it's squished up on my needles. So, I don't know. Let's fold it in half and see how big it is, and then we can just double that in our brains. So that's half as big as it is. So, I don't know, 14, 15 inches, so 30, and that's unblocked. And I have a ton more to go. I'm past the point where it's kind of knit A, knit B, knit C. I'm past the point where you would go on to C, but I'm knitting B again because I want it to be bigger, because I have 1,500 yards of this yarn, and this calls for like 600 or 700, and I thought, well, I've certainly got enough yarn to make it a repeat bigger, so we're just going to go with it. And from reading the pattern, it looks like that it kind of, you could do 1 repeat or 40 repeats of B if you wanted to, and that C would still just flow into it because it's just the way it does. I don't want to give anything away because it is a paid pattern, but I love it. It's going to be super squishy. I'm really excited about it. And like sitting here in, like, it's going to be perfect fall and winter in Texas, because like all the places that you go, even when it's cold outside, they'll pump up the air because there's still a lot of bodies in places, and it's like you just need sweaters inside in the South. Way more, maybe like you need them outside in the North, and then you need them inside in the South, just because of the way things work here. So anyway, that's the back. Look how cool. Squishy lace, no matter what the gauge, is just awesome. Awesome, awesome. That's a really good color representation. It's Tarte Madeline Tosh. For all of you longtime Mad Tosh people, you will know. I just love there's kind of one of the little motifs. But I love it. And that is it right now. And that's like, it's not hanging all the way. So it's gonna be pretty big. Pretty excited. I have used at least for probably 350, almost 400 yards so far. So that is it for the knitting this week. Hold the phone. I did some cross stitching. And I know I've mentioned this several times, and I still haven't really put them in the shop, but this might be something that goes up in there someday. These little Q-snap holders. My mom made this one for me, but I mean, seriously, I mean, this kind of goes in with shop stuff, but it's helpful to know like the things that y'all want, because then I can make things that you want. So basically what this is it's just like this thing that holds your Q-snap in there. And then you can leave it in here, and then all of my pattern and stitching and everything is there. I mean, floss, everything there on the bottom. Then you just slide it in and flip open the top, flip over, zip it, and then it's ready to go. So if you're traveling or you just need to keep it all contained from animals or whatever. So anyway, mine is, because it sits in my living room and I've got to keep it away from a dog. A doggy. So this is the Pumpkin Passport by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And I am using all of the called for things. So the fabric they called for, threads, everything. This started in January. You get one pattern a month, and I clearly am behind. But I had fun stitching and catching up, just not catching up, working on it this week. So this was the January section, like the little girl, and then this van, bus, double-decker bus, Big Ben. So she's obviously been through London. She's on her Vespa. She's done with London. She's on to Paris. So I made a mistake here, and like this is supposed to be one row taller, but she kind of made it work. And then this in turn is one row wrong, because this was one row wrong. So, you know, you just make it work. It's totally fine. No one would know, and y'all wouldn't have even known if I didn't tell you. Anyway, so I finished the Eiffel Tower, started the clouds and this little bluebird here, and then there's the, what's the museum that's the diamond, the glass diamond, that's gonna go there. Yeah, so I just kind of picked it up and worked on it for a few hours this weekend, and it was really super fun. So here's a close-up. There you go. The threads that I'm using are, as I said, they're the called for colors, they're DMC threads. I did not get a kit from them. I bought the chart, and then I sourced my own things. I bought my own fabric from Picture This Plus, but it's the fabric that they called for, and then I purchased or had my own DMCs. So, and then there was also a Weeks Dye Works that I needed to get. I think it's Weeks Dye Works, but an over-dyed floss, and I purchased that. So that is it for crafting this week. There's been a lot of Suburban Stitcher sewing. All of the Suburban Stitcher 10 anniversary bags are out. Many of them, kind of in that second round, went out about 3 weeks early. So excited about that. I hope that y'all love them. They should be pretty much, I don't think any of the last batch went overseas, so they should be in your houses. I just couldn't be more excited about having them in your hands, because I loved that bag. And be on the lookout for more things like that, like kind of plain, sophisticated. I do fun stuff too. I just did a Halloween update, obviously, that had crazy fun stuff, but sometimes it's just really nice to have something that's just a little classier, a little more sophisticated, and not cartoon apothecary jars. So the last thing, I guess, that we have to talk about is Hello Lovelies. So I had 2 things come in the mail this week. The first is a skein of yarn that I purchased. It's a new to me dyer, but many of you know of her. This is the Yarn at Home Mom And this is basic fingering, 463 yards for 100 grams, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. The colorway is called Dragonfly Inn. It is a Gilmore Girls inspired colorway. I had intended to knit this for the Gilmore Girls along that several podcasts are doing. Then when it came in, I looked it up and realized that that knit along ends at the end of August, or September. I thought it went through October, and it doesn't. So, unfortunately, I won't have time to knit this in time, but it is beautiful. And when I do something with it, oh my gosh, I just love like this. And then also this like brown, gray, that section. Okay, I keep freaking out and looking outside. This is totally an aside. Because last week, okay, so my husband was out of town for 9 days. I don't think I said that just because, you know, security, whatnot, home alone. He was gone for 9 days. And there was a snake on my front porch one day when I was going out with the kids to go to one of their practices. It was like waving at me like crazy on the front porch. Almost came in the house and I almost died. And then on our neighborhood Facebook page, so many people have been posting pictures of animals. Like, I mean, snakes, not animals, snakes that are like around their house, like that they've had to kill them. And we live close to the river, so it's going to happen. But I have never had one on my porch. Scare me to death. So I keep looking because people had them like they were wrapped around their trees and on their things. And so anytime I see something move, I'm like, oh, is that the snake? Because my view on the other side of the screen, what I'm looking out, the window that I'm looking out, it looks out onto my front porch right by my front door. So that's where it was, which means that now, basically, from now until the end of time, I will be worried about a snake on my front porch every time I'm there. So there's that. The other piece of Hello Lovelies that came in the mail is a skein of merino DK hedgehog. Y'all, this is like fall in yarn. It's called Copper Penny is the colorway, and I absolutely love it. It is the perfect like burnt orange red with hints of green, just fall, like the craziest, most orangiest, reddish leaves, which is exactly what I was going for because I am going to be knitting a DK weight fall shawl. I'm going to be knitting quill, and I have to finish the other biggie shawl first. This is my next cast on. This says it's DK weight, and this is really plump for DK. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, Quill by Curious Handmaids, and it's part of her shawl society. It's a DK weight shawl, and I had 2 colors that I will be using, and then I needed the third. So I will be knitting it with these 3, and I'm going to tell you why these 3. I'll be casting it on next month, pretty sure. But these are all skeins of yarn that remind me of Rhinebeck. 2 years in a row, I guess it was 2013 and 14, I had the amazing privilege to go to that festival. And if you can attend ever and go, it's totally worth it because it's amazing. One day I will get back. Hadn't been in the cards the last couple of years, but that's okay. Other things have been in the cards, like me being able to quit my job and stay at home and work full time. So, that's way better than Rhinebeck. However, Rhinebeck is awesome, and I have so many amazing memories from Rhinebeck. So 2 years ago, my last year there, I purchased this skein from Gail's Art. It is called Graffiti and Asphalt, and it's crazy gray with graffiti colors everywhere. Super fun. This is a DK weight. I was gifted this skein of amazing lusciousness last year. This is 100% Cormo from Fox Hill Farm. It's a DK weight, about 300 yards. Very hard to get, very, very sought after at Rhinebeck. Could not believe that my friend Stacy Mustache gifted this to me. So seriously, still sort of can't believe it, but it also is too pretty to sit and it needs to be knit. So those two are going to go together because they're both Rhinebeck. They remind me of each other. Skeins. They remind me of Rhinebeck. And Rhinebeck, especially to this Southern girl, Rhinebeck, the biggest thing about it is seeing all the leaves because, hello, Texas does not have leaves like that. It is green here year-round, which in and of itself is awesome, but we just don't have the changing leaves. So this is my changing leaves. Now, I know that these don't necessarily seem like they would go together, but the shawl, if you look at the shawl, these will be the striped sections, and this is the little accent row that kind of goes in between every now and then the big accent at the bottom. So I think it's going to work. Hold it like that. It's a little better. But I'm pretty excited about them. So yeah, so that is it. That's what's coming up. That's what I've worked on. Like I said, I have a trunk show on the 8th of October. So if you are doing the Hill Country Yarn Crawl and you want to come get some Suburban Stitcher bags, please, please, please come that Saturday morning of the first day, Saturday morning. I think I'm out there from about 10 to 2. And yeah, come see me and we will hang out and we can visit. And I think one of my best friend is going to be with me. She is not a knitter, but we are getting her cross stitching and she is crafting and she's just amazing because she's willing to be friends with me, which makes her extra awesome. So she's going to be hanging out with me and we'll maybe do some live some Instagram stories and maybe we'll do a little podcast, just some fun videos. But I would just love a chance to meet you and show you some things for fall that I have and maybe some Christmas items as well that I'll have for sale at the shop. And also, anything that is left over will come back and go in the online store, of course. So between now and then, there will probably not be a whole lot going up in the store. Maybe a few things here and there if I have a couple of extras that I want to throw in the Etsy store, but mostly there's going to be just what's in there now until after that trunk show. So thanks again. As always, y'all are amazing. I hope you have a great week. And you like my one painted, one not? And it's been one painted so long that they're chipping because I'm classy. Thanks again. Y'all have a great time until I see you next. And that's it. Bye, y'all.